Hi guys, just wanted to do a video talking a little bit about trade-offs, and I'm going to be speaking very specifically about sleep and the effects that bad sleep can have. It is going to be an anecdotal look at things because it's my own experience with it, but I do track this, and some of this will carry over into you. You may recognize some of the patterns. One of the common stalling blocks for people making progress in anything, be it muscle gain or weight loss, is inadequate sleep. So in a fat loss context, if you're trying to lose weight and you're not sleeping well, that's going to have a knock-on effect to the amount of calories that you want to consume and probably that you do end up consuming the following day. So what I did was a small experiment on myself. I tracked my sleep and my calories over 2 separate weeks. Where training didn't vary, there was no variation to the amount of stress my body was under in that sense. And what I did for the first week was I set myself a timer to go to bed, so that I didn't fall into the pattern of staying up late. And over the course of the week, my recovery was tracked as high. My sleep was on average 7 to 7.5 hours, 8 if I was lucky, but being a relatively new dad, that's the dream. Sometimes you're just not going to get the sleep that you want. But for me, that was a good amount of sleep. So not only was my recovery high, I then looked at my calories consumed over the week, and it was fairly flat and consistent. I didn't go over my limit at all. My food choices were generally pretty good. The following week, I stayed up late playing PlayStation with the boys pretty much every night. My average sleep was 5.5 hours, sometimes a little less. So firstly, my recovery tanked. You can track that. My heart rate was up higher than normal, as you'd expect. But not only that, the knock-on effect to my calories consumed was really noticeable. I was over my limit pretty consistently, and my food choices weren't great. I was grabbing a lot of high energy food because I was tired and I needed a boost to get me through the day. On average, my calorie intake was not quite 10% higher, but it was consistently higher than the previous week where I had adequate sleep. And that's something that's very anecdotal because it's looking at my own experience, but it's something that I imagine a lot of you have experienced, that when your sleep is wiped out for whatever reason it may be, so whether it's like me, staying up late playing PlayStation, or the fact that you may be a new parent yourself and your sleep is somewhat out of your control, you may notice that when you're in those patterns of less sleep, that you're reaching for higher calorie foods or higher energy foods, and your calorie intake is higher because you need the boost to get you through the day. It's fairly common, and a lot of you will probably experience that. But then you look at, well, what are the trade-offs? If I want to stay up late playing games with the boys, what's the benefit? The benefit is it's a really good thing for my mental well-being and my social life, like just being in contact with my friends in London that I don't see very often, that I haven't seen for over a year now. So that is a big benefit for me. But anything you do has a cost somewhere else. So when it comes to your goals, you have to look at what are your goals worth and what you're willing to trade to get them. If you want to lose weight and you want to put yourself in a good position to lose weight, you want to make sure that you're not overly hungry and reaching for high energy foods. Making sure you've got adequate sleep is a good way to do that, to help kind of regulate your hunger. However, what do you trade to do it? You may end up trading some social experiences. I say social because gaming with friends is definitely social. But you may have to trade some of those in. Now, I'm not saying you have to trade them in every night, obviously, because then the cost of getting to your goals may not be worth it because you're missing your friends and your mental well-being is somewhat compromised. But there's a balance. So, for example, that week I had where I stayed up late every night is not an example of a good week because it happened to fall on a point where a lot of my friends were off work for a week, but in real life, they're not going to be there every day because they got work the next day. So it becomes less of a regular thing when we all get together. That works well for us in terms of our goals. If we were doing that every night, continuously for weeks, you'd probably see a steady increase in body weight, a steady decrease in energy levels, and in general productivity from being tired. However, if we trade that in so that I'm not staying up till awful o'clock every night playing games with the boys, but I do still do that with them on certain nights of the week, then I'm still ticking that social box and I feel good for doing it, but I am getting adequate sleep around 80% of the time. That's the happy spot for me in terms of my goals. Maybe completely different for you, but there will still be a trade-off somewhere. So have a look at what you're doing now. What behaviors are you currently doing that are not aligned with your goals? Are they worth changing for your goals? Are they worth altering slightly for your goals? So if you don't want to give up that behavior completely, but you want to change it slightly, look at the cost. Is that cost worth your goals? If it's not worth trading in those behaviors for your goals, that's fine. But then readjust your goals based on what you're willing to pay to get them.